Hello, YouTubers. Welcome back to Edification 360 Degrees. And so today we are tackling Economic and Management Sciences, Grade 7, and our topic is personal statements of net worth. Before we get started with the personal statement of net worth, we are quickly going to go over answers of practice activity 1.1, which was in the previous EMS video. You needed to calculate to determine whether the business has made a profit or a loss. In number 1, we can see that the income is more than an expense, hence the answer is profit of 45,085 rand for 2 marks. Number 2, when you look at number 2, the expense is more, which makes this business to have made a loss of 1,110, and this is for 2 marks. Number 3, when we look at the income and expense, we can see that the expense is more, hence the business has made a loss of 40 rand, and that is 2 marks. Number 4, when we look at our income and expense, the expense is more. Hence, this business has made a loss of 3,750, and this is for 2 marks. And lastly, number 5, we look at income and expense. Our income is way more than the expense, which makes this to be a profit of 14,320, and that is 2 marks. So at the end, you need to give yourself a mark out of 10. Next up, we discuss answers for practice activity 1.2. You were given a case study of XYZ business, and you need to determine whether the business has made a profit or loss. When we look on our right-hand side, there is a table. On the one side, it's written income. The other side, it's written amount. So the first income that we get from the case study is rent income of 6,560. If you have that on your table, you give yourself a mark. Our next income is commission income, the commission income that they get from EFG oils to the value of 4,600. That is your second mark. The third income that they get is from their sales, and the amount of the sale is 8,000 rand, so you can give yourself a mark for that. And then once you have written all your income, you now need to add them together to get your total income. And so our total income is 19,160. And so if you have that correct, give yourself a mark. Once we are done with income, we move to expenses. Expenses are the following: electricity, 570, 1 mark. Telephone, 350, another mark. Water, 200 rand, a mark. Delivery, 555 rand, another mark. And lastly, our trading stock, which is 3,400, which is another mark. And so once we are done writing all our expenses, we need to calculate the total amount of all the expenses. Now, our total amount is 5,075 rand. When we look at our total income, total expense, our total income is definitely more than our expense, meaning that this business has made a profit. And now we move on to practice activity 2. Number 1, you need to define the following terms. A budget. A budget is a plan that is drawn up of money that is expected and how you plan to spend it. So simply put, it is your income versus your expense. B, savings. Savings is money that is put away for something that will be needed in future. Number 2, you need to explain why it's important for a business to have a bank account. It's important for a business to have a bank account so that they're able to keep track of their financial activities, and that is for 2 marks. Number 3, Name the 3 types of saving accounts. And the correct answer is notice deposit, call deposit, and fixed deposit. Each one of those accounts is worth 1 mark, and in total, number 3 is for 3 marks. Number 4, what is the importance of having a budget? A budget is important as it helps you to live within your means and to not overspend. We are now getting started with the lesson. Remember our topic, we said it is personal statement of net worth. When we speak of net worth, we are speaking about the monetary value of an individual or a business on a specific date. It's almost like taking a picture of a person's assets and liabilities at a specific moment in time. Hence, the formula for calculating net worth is equals to assets minus liabilities. And so before we go any further, we'll just quickly refresh your memory of what assets are and what liabilities are. Assets. When we speak of assets, we are speaking about possessions, valuable items of an individual or a business. Liabilities. When we speak of liabilities, we are talking about money that you owe to other businesses or to other people. To bring clarity on statements of net worth and how to really calculate it, we are going to be looking at the following example. ABC Salon is a local salon in your community. Read the information on the table and calculate their net worth. And so we're going to get started with the left column, which is written ABC business has the following assets. Since it's a salon, they have hair dryers to the value of 3,000 Rand, furniture to the value of 6,000 Rand, basins, which is to the value of 1,000 Rand, and lastly, trading stock to the value of 10,000 Rand. And so on the right hand side of the table, ABC business has the following liabilities. They have a loan from ABC Bank, which is to the value of 10,000 Rand, and a credit card for stock to the value of 5,000 Rand. And so in the following slide, I'll be explaining how we then calculate the statement of net worth. Our example of the statement of net worth, we firstly start with assets. Under assets, we have hair dryers to the value of 3,000. Furniture, the amount is 6,000. Basins, the amount is 1,000 Rand. Trading stock, the amount is 10,000. And so at the bottom, we calculate our total asset, which is equals to 20,000 Rand. Now we move on to our liabilities. Under liabilities, we have the following. Loan from ABC Bank to the amount of 10,000 Rand, credit card stock to the amount of 5,000 Rand. And now we need to calculate the total liabilities, which is 15,000 Rand. And now remember the formula for net worth is equals to total assets minus total liabilities. And so looking into our example, our total asset was 20,000, our total liabilities was 15,000. So we are going to say net worth is equals to total assets minus total liabilities is equals to 20,000 Rand minus 15,000 Rand, which gives us 35,000 Rand. Next up, we have practice activity 1. Knowledge is an active girl who plays a number of sports and she has the following items. Netball to the value of 120, soccer ball 140, tennis ball 50 Rand, tennis rackets 1,500, bicycle 1,200, cell phone worth 3,500, clothes and shoes to the value of 5,500. She received a cell phone account from the local phone shop of outstanding amount of 2,000 Rand. She owes her mother 450 that she borrowed for sports equipment. She also owes 50 Rand at the school tuck shop. Now, after reading that information, you need to calculate her personal statement of net worth. I am going to be giving you time to calculate this, and then afterwards we'll be discussing the answers. And now we move to discussing practice activity 1. Under assets, we have netball, the amount 120, soccer ball 140, tennis ball 50 rand, tennis racket 1,500, bicycle 1,200, cell phone 3,500, clothes and shoes 5,500. Each of the assets that we have just looked into, you give yourself 1 mark for writing the name of the assets and the amount. It's 1 mark each. Right, and then at the bottom, we need to calculate our total assets. So when we add all the amounts, they give us the total of 12,010 rands. Once you are done calculating the assets, you move on to liabilities. Under liabilities, we have the following. Amount owed for cell phone is 2,000 rand. You give yourself a mark for that. Money owed to her mother, it's 450. You give yourself a mark. And lastly, money owed to the school tuck shop, 50 rand. You give yourself a mark. And so once we've written all these liabilities and their amounts, we need to calculate the total amount of the liabilities. And the total amount of liabilities is 2,500. And so if you got that correct, you give yourself a mark. Net worth is equals to total assets minus total liabilities. For the fact that you've written the formula, you give yourself a mark, is equals to 12,010 rands minus 2,500. And so for the fact that you've written the correct total asset amount, which is 12,010 rands, you give yourself 1 mark. And for the fact that you've written the correct total liability amount, which is 2,500, you give yourself a 2nd mark. And then at the end, you now need to get the total. So 12,010 rand minus 2,500 gives us a total of 9,510. And so if you got that correct, that is a mark. And now we have a second practice activity. XYZ is a bakery shop in your community. You are given the following information about the shop. Fridge to the amount of 4,000, cash register 1,500, trading stock 7,500, shelves 1,500, oven 15,000, baking trays 1,400, tables and chairs 3,567, outstanding amount of 2,500 at ABC Furniture, money owed to MNO Superstore to the value of 2,000 rand, and lastly, credit card of 3,000 rand. You read the information of XYZ Bakery, and now you need to calculate their net worth. Again, I'm going to give you some time to quickly calculate their net worth, and we'll discuss the answers. Now we discuss answers for practice activity 2. We get started with our assets. Under assets, you should have the following: cash register to the amount of 1,500, fridge 4,000 rand, trading stock 7,500, shelves 1,400, oven 15,000, baking trays 1,650, table and chairs 3,567. For the fact that you've written the correct name for your assets and the correct amount, you give yourself 1 mark. And now we then calculate our total assets. When we add all of the amounts of our assets, the total that we get is 34,617. And now that we are done with our assets, we have our total asset amount, we move on to liabilities. Under liabilities, you should have the following: outstanding amount at ABC Furniture to the amount of 2,500, money owed to MNO Superstore to the amount of 2,000 rand, and lastly, credit card to the amount of 3,000 rand. If you've written the liability and the correct amount, you give yourself 1 mark. 1 mark for each liability that you've written. And now we then need to calculate our total liabilities. So 2,500 plus 2,000 rand plus 3,000 rand. That gives us a total of 7,500. And so our total liabilities are 7,500. And now we need to move on to calculating our net worth. For the fact that you've written the formula, which is net worth is equal to total assets minus total liabilities, you give yourself a mark for having written that formula. Our total assets is 34,617. And so if you've written that, you got that correct, give yourself a mark. minus total liabilities, which is 7,500. If you have 7,500, you give yourself a mark. And all of that is then equals to 27,117. And if you got that one correct, you give yourself a mark. Before we conclude our lesson, just a quick recap of personal statement of net worth. We said that in order for us to calculate net worth, it's important for us to understand what assets are, what liabilities are. Assets are possessions, valuable items of a business or individual. Liabilities, it's money that is owed to other businesses or other people. And so the formula that we use to calculate our net worth is equals to total assets minus total liabilities. That is it for today. Thank you so much for joining us as we're discussing the personal statement of net worth. If you have any questions or would like to engage with us, we are available on 4 different platforms as stated there on the screen. And see you next time. Be sure to subscribe, be sure to share, and remember, knowledge is power.